Box office top 10 at 65.
Are we really starting at 65?
Yeah, we're starting at 65, which is sort of not many people went to see this at all territory.
No, but it was a limited.
It happened one night, which is the 90th anniversary.
Well, actually, weirdly enough, we're recording this on Valentine's Day.
We are.
So it's a bit unfair to do, because I imagine that people will go and see it happen one night, because it is released in time for Valentine's Day.
I see.
So next week, I predict that it will be up from 65
with a bullet.
Yeah, it'll be but it's a great film, and it's definitely. If I was going to say, if you're listening to this, go tonight. But if you're listening to this, it's Friday. You already missed it. Did you send Good Lady Ceramicist a card? Did you give the Good Lady Ceramicist a
card? Flowers, and fizz, actually, which is a bit excessive.
Card, flowers, and fizz.
I know, and the fizz has their name on it.
I feel completely trumped. I just did 12 red roses.
That's a lovely thing.
Well, apparently not. Beth here, who works in the show, said, "Didn't you send a card?" I sent a dozen red roses. She went, "Yeah, but it's not a card."
I don't think you should feel insecure.
I feel very insecure.
I mean, after being, when you've been married for like 1,000 years,
That's right.
I think everything is fine.
Okay.
Number 37 is The Settlers,
which is very dark. I mean, it's a very powerful story, powerfully told, but tough viewing.
Occupied City is at 28. Now,
which is pretty good going for a 4.5-hour documentary about, the Holocaust.
The Nazi occupation of Amsterdam in particular. Anna Watson in Clapham, first-time listener, was drawn in because I saw it mentioned on Twitter that you had an interview with Steve McQueen and Bianca Stidka. I saw Occupied City last Sunday afternoon at Brixton's lovely ritzy cinema. I was curious to see it because I visited Amsterdam quite a few times, have Dutch family connections, and have read books such as The Cutout Girl by Bart van Es, which I recommend. But I had also recently read that 80% of Jewish people in the Netherlands were killed during the Nazi occupation, a much higher proportion than in most other countries. I absolutely loved the visuals of the film. Blurry lights, reflections, sparkling water, foggy views, but at times the structure felt a lot like a disjointed list. Some of the candid moments caught on film are wonderful. A grumpy child lying down on an iced-over canal, teenagers bantering and giggling, bike crashes. But somehow the camera always seems as dispassionate as the voiceover. It never makes any sudden moves, and that stillness, even when filming an environmental rally or a lockdown protest being broken up by police, really serves the whole atmosphere of quiet contemplation. I felt very absorbed in the film, but I think perhaps my attention span is better than usual because I've been at home recovering from COVID for quite a while. Obviously, most people will not set aside the time to see this film. Given that it sounds like McQueen has plans to place the extended 36 hours in a museum setting, I wonder whether it would have done better to produce an edited 2.5 or 3 hours, which would have got many more people in to see it. It's an amazing work of art, history and geography combined. I really would recommend it to anyone who can find the time to see it. It's one of the questions where I think the conversation started with Steve McQueen. How did you know what the perfect length is for this film? Yeah. And he and Bianca both clearly felt, as they said on the programme, it is what it is. It is the length that it had to be.
Yes. I mean, it was never going to be an easy, accessible watch. But, I actually think that for a 4-hour, 20-minute movie, it has a 15-minute interval built into it. It is weirdly mesmerising. There is something about the cumulative power of repetition, the absolutely dispassionate tone of it's Melanie Hyams, right, the narration. I think it works, and I find it very hard to cut it down. I do look forward to what happens when he did he say there's 36 hours?
Yes,
that's
because
right.
They went to every address that's in the book.
Right, every address, yeah.
2,000 addresses.
No, it's a monumental project.
But it does feel like, as I think we were talking about, it does feel like as though it could be an art installation.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. But a Sunday afternoon at a nice cinema seems like the perfect place. Don't go and see it in the evening, obviously, because it's way too long.
Yeah. And as you said, make sure that you clear the rest of the day because it will stick with you.
Yeah. Number 18 is Gassed Up.
No, number 25 is Your Fat Friend, the Jeannie Finlay movie, which is really, really great. It's a documentary that I absolutely love. Yeah, it's definitely here on the thing. Number 25, Your Fat Friend, Jeannie Finlay documentary. Go see it. So that's 2 great documentaries that people can go and see in cinemas.
Number 18 is Gassed Up,
which is, it's a British moped crime movie. It's got some style. I think the problem is I did see it shortly after American Fiction, and it did feel like it was it was doing all the cliches that American Fiction, was.
Does it have Funky Moped by Jasper Carrot?
It doesn't have Funky Moped by Jasper Carrot, nor indeed Magic Roundabout on the B-side.
I was explaining Jasper Carrot to Child 3.
Wow. I would have liked to have heard that conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the bit was...
He's from Birmingham.
No, but there was a whole sequence that he used to do jokes about Irish people. So you're English, Scotsman and Irish people. And then he says, as part of his routine, this is back in the 70s, someone took him aside and said, I find you funny, but I find these jokes offensive. And he said, I understand. And he changed his act. He then did exactly the same jokes, but with sun readers as the punchline. So there was an Englishman, an Irishman,
and a sun reader.
And a sun reader went into the pub. So I'm not sure that sort of gets you out of it necessarily, but that's the way he got out of not changing his act at all. But he accepted that he was wrong. Yeah. Dune is at number 10.
So this has been reissued because we are about to have Dune. Is it called Dune Part 2 or Chapter 2 or what is it?
Part 2, I think.
Dune Part 2, which
I still think of it as Dunk because that's the way the graphics. It's Dunk 2.
I think it's quite clever the way that it's just that same as the year when I think it's well done. So we can't say anything about Dune 2 yet because obviously we
have seen it and
embargoed.
And I'm talking to Denis Villeneuve and Hans Zimmer shortly, and it'll be on the show.
And there's much to talk about.
And there is an awful lot to talk about.
But Dune, Dune is really, really impressive. I said at the end of my Dune review, they've still got a lot of work to do in Dune Part 2, and Dune Part 2 does a lot of work.
Yes, and if you haven't, I do recommend going to see
it again before
go and see it at the cinema. It's also on Netflix, so you can watch the whole thing at home, and it is worth as a catch up.
Yes,
just to remember all the
House Atreides
and who they all are, the planet, and all that kind of stuff. So number 10 is Dune. We've done that, okay, but that's back in the top 10. Number 9 is The Zone of Interest,
which is the Jonathan Glazer film. Again, another film dealing with the Holocaust. In the same way that Steve McQueen's film shows you visuals from the present day, but you hear the accounts of the past, so it's kind of like looking to one side. Zone of Interest is this extraordinary drama that's taking place literally side by side of the Holocaust, which is what makes it so powerful and so shocking. Terrific performance by Sandra Hüller, who of course was also so great in Anatomy of a Fall. The film won quite a few awards at the Critics Circle Awards, and rightly so. Extraordinary sound and music, providing like the movie that's happening off screen. You hear the horror through the sound design and through the music, and what you see is this horrendous domesticity. And there was a wonderful email last week explaining, I think, those weird sort of nighttime sequences, and which really gave them context.
Yes, absolutely, it did. And Jessica in Brighton picks up on that. We were lucky enough to see a preview screening of Zone of Interest, followed by a Q&A with Jonathan Glazer at the Curzon Soho, hosted by the Wiener Holocaust Library, of which Glazer is a trustee. Talking about the remarkable scenes of the girl burying apples, which is the bit that we're talking about. Glazer said the thermal imaging was initially just a solution to a technical problem. He had resolved to shoot the whole film with only natural and available light, but that obviously wasn't going to work in the pitch black. The thermal imaging was the perfect solution, not least because it's so shocking when we first see it. It adds another unsettling layer to an already deeply unsettling film. Those scenes also wind up representing a kind of inverse in every respect to everything else that we see in the Zone of Interest. The girl hiding apples is quite literally the one source of light and warmth in the film and the one source of hope.
Yes, which
Jessica,
is exactly right.
So that's at number 9, number 14 in the States. 8 here, 4 in America is Wonka.
Soon to be seen on Dunk.
I do wonder if there's a little part of Denis Villeneuve that wishes that Dune Part 2 had come out before everyone's going to go, look, it's Wonka. I'll last him with some chocolates and an ice cream. Anyway, huge hit. 7 here, 7 in the States, Anyone But You.
Which I'm afraid I still haven't seen, but I do want to catch up with it.
Mean Girls is at 6.
It's done really well, as I keep saying, something that was originally designed for. Actually, weirdly enough, I was at the BFI and somebody said that they had taken exception to the tagline was, "It's not your mother's Mean Girls." To which they said, yeah, it is. I'm a mother and
yes.
it is.
Peppa's Cinema Party is at 5.
So I didn't know anything about Peppa's Cinema Party. So I looked it up And it is 1 hour and 5 minutes long, and it is described as Peppa celebrates 20 years with 10 new episodes, a 3-part wedding special, a mix of animation and live action where Peppa enters the real world, a party bus bonus episode, and 5 sing-along songs.
So it's like a half-term special.
Apparently, yes.
If Peppa
I'm
Pig is
sorry
your
I
thing.
didn't. I'm sure it's marvellous.
All of Us Strangers is at number 4.
Absolutely love it. I mean, great performances, such a beautiful film, and has touched so many people so personally.
Dear Bleep and Booster.
Oh, yeah, wow. That Bleep and Booster.
Yes, I'm just trying to see.
Were they on Blue Peter?
It was on Blue Peter.
Peter.
Yes. I can't see who this is actually from.
Kia ora.
Oh, there you go. Yes, it says it in the first sentence. So why don't I just continue
just read
reading?
that?
Kia ora from near Auckland in New Zealand here. I just think of Kia ora as the...
Kia ora.
No, I think of it as the orange fruit drink. Your projectionist tonight is Eric.
That's right.
You know that?
Yes.
Leonard Rossiter did the voiceover, and it was for Kia ora, the refreshing fruit drink available in the kiosk. Anyway, I haven't found a reason to contact the show until now, and that reason is All of Us Strangers. I listened to the interview with Andrew Haigh and Mark's review, so I was really looking forward to watching the movie, but I wasn't prepared for the impact that it had on me. I've just experienced a major relationship breakup, and I lost my parents a long time ago. So aside from the wonderful premise, the brave and powerful performances, especially from the 2 leads, and the texture and tone of the film, it ended up pushing a lot of my buttons, and there were floods of tears. I haven't seen such a beautiful, tender and touching film in a long time, so hats off to all concerned. I just loved it. More, please. And Kia ora signs off. Love the show, Steve. Hello to Jason. Up with all the good stuff and down with the bad. As you said at the beginning of the pod, I think let's carry on with all of that. Number 3 here, number 18 in the States, The Iron Claw.
A true life story of a wrestling family dynasty that we hear at the beginning from Zac Efron's character that there is a curse on the family, and certainly the drama plays out with a lot of tragedy. But it's a very engaging drama. It's by Sean Durkin, who's a very fine filmmaker. I care not one jot about wrestling, but really the film is about the kind of the emotional battles, the way in which the batterings that you get in the ring are nothing compared to the batterings you get around the kitchen table.
Richard Whitehouse in sunny Cornwall, Dear Jake the Snake Roberts, and Macho Man Randy Savage. Which one is you, do you
I'll
think?
be Macho Man Randy Savage.
We went to an early screening of The Iron Claw, and weirdly, earlier in the day, my Facebook informed me that it was exactly 15 years ago to the day since I saw The Wrestler at the pictures.
Oh, wow.
However, whilst both films are set in the arena of sports entertainment, as it is known, they are hardly comparable. I was unaware of the story of the Von Erich family, and whilst I found The Iron Claw engaging and interesting, I was left with the feeling of being shortchanged from what was an emotional story of family relationships. Zac Efron was impressive as Kevin, although resembling the Hulk if he spent too much time in a tanning salon, and it seemed right that he was at the heart of the movie. But with so many other complex characters in this story, I wanted to know more about them. The always dependable Maura Tierney was great in the short screen time that she got.
Yeah, she is
and I
great.
felt there was much more about her character that we were not being shown. Likewise, the relationship between Kevin and his wife Pam seemed to be marginalised, with the focus maybe too much on Efron's character. The wrestling scenes were great, far glossier than the original grapples would have been, and the movie had just enough emotional heft to make you care for the characters. But it didn't have the impact for me that The Wrestler had 15 years previously.
Okay, I think I liked it more than you, but it's an interesting response, so thank you for the email.
Mad King J says The Iron Claw is utterly miserable to watch, but it's captivating. Something you don't need to be a fan of wrestling to enjoy. Wonderful performances all round, which make the family dynamic even more believable.
Yes, and I think the phrase "the Iron Claw" it's the signature move of the father, but it's also obviously a metaphor for the iron claw in which the family are trapped.
Number 2 is Argyle. Sandra says,
Please tell me that there is an email from somebody who liked Argyle, and it is not just me and Matthew who like it.
love listening to all your reviews and interviews. My daughter had one of Mark's reviews recently and said, does he ever like the films he reviews? I answered, he's talking about Aquaman. Her reply, fair point. I was pleased to hear Mark enjoyed Argyle last week. I thought it was great fun and
good.
Totally silly.
Hooray.
I heard Matthew say that he, as in Matthew Vaughan, I imagine, say that he made the film suitable for his teenage kids to watch, which is why there isn't any swearing in it and presumably why the whole thing is much better than Kingsman. Mm-hmm. BDH was great, Bryce Dallas Howard. Even though that totally inappropriate dress gave me flashbacks to her running around chasing dinosaurs in high heels and white jeans and that T-shirt in Jurassic Park, which still annoys me. Henry Cavill and Sam Rockwell looked like they were really enjoying themselves.
Yeah,
Hi to
so.
Jason, up with Tracy Chapman and down with Trump. I did think the Tracy Chapman duet at the Grammys was fantastic.
It was brilliant, wasn't it? I want to say, and since we're saying well
yes.
done to Taylor Swift for winning the Super Bowl.
And annoying everybody.
Yeah.
Just do this quickly. Sam in Oxford went to see Argyle a few weeks ago at a preview at The View in Leicester Square. Everyone was excited to be there to see Matthew Vaughan do a Q&A afterwards. Everyone had a great time with laughter and gasps throughout, and I enjoyed the film thoroughly. I was disappointed at the general critical reaction, but was pleased to see my favourite film critic at least had enjoyed it.
Boom.
I decided to take a friend to see the film a few days ago, and with the film having been out for a while, the cinema was nearly empty.
Wow.
Then, right from the opening credits, two separate groups of people in the cinema started to loudly heckle and laugh at the film. Every line of dialogue, every plot twist, pretty much every moment of the film that wasn't meant to be laughed at. I believe they were just looking for a way to waste the Sunday afternoon, saw the film's Rotten Tomatoes score and decided to come and ruin the experience for everyone else. When you're in the cinema and everyone laughs at a joke, you do too, even if you wouldn't have normally. It's one of the magical things about cinema. The same effect occurs when someone comes specifically to make fun of a film. It makes the rest of the audience paying to be there feel that the film is bad or not worth their time as well, and this ruins the experience for everyone else. We ended up leaving the cinema halfway through because of these sad individuals.
I'm really sorry about that. That's really unfortunate. Although I should say that I've said before, you can be in a preview screening, and although critics wouldn't do that, they wouldn't heckle the film, you can feel a room turning against a film. And if it's a comedy particularly and the room turns against it, it does stop the film being funny. It's really peculiar.
Number one here, 5 in the States, is Migration.
Which, you know, it's... I think that the Minions short, which Moon, I think is the best thing, but Migration is perfectly good fun. We had a lovely email last week that I thought about quite a lot from a parent who had taken their child to see it, and that they thought that the film had done its job because at one point of extreme duck peril, the child had said, I don't like it and I want to leave. And the parent had said, fine, we'll leave. And what that is very fine cinema parenting, knowing that there may be a time that doesn't mean the movie was bad. It means just they need to leave now. But just so you know, if you do want to go back and see it again, I don't think this is a plot spoiler. Close your ears if you don't want. The ducks are all fine. The ducks are not à l'orange.
No.